Hi, everyone. Thanks for understanding that while lunch is out, lunch is not yet ready. It's kind of confusing to have our uh, a break right before lunch, and we will do our best to keep our remarks short and get you out there to have a bite to eat. My name is Steve Beatty. I am a consultant to Lion. One of the main reasons I was brought on here was to help run this grant called RAMP. It is for Revenue from Advertising Mentorship Program. Democracy Fund was kind enough to fund us with this. They are eagerly awaiting the results of it, and we hope that we would be able to replicate it in the future if these guys, produce some impressive results. So some quick background. We had a application period, a selection process. We have 10 members of this organization of our RAMP. We actually have 11. We had one person who joined us, went through the initial training and said, I'm not ready for this. I'm just starting out and I'm not ready, and it wouldn't be fair to somebody else for me to take part in it. So they graciously withdrew and allowed Led here on the your right to join us in the program. We met once in Atlanta, got to know everybody. There are 3 mentors for the 10 members, and one thing I've heard over and over again, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the mentorship is as valuable as the cash money that came for you to implement some of this. And one of the features of the program, even though we're all virtual and spread out all over the place, is we do try to get the mentors and the participants together in the same place. So I'll start with you, Matt Henney from Project Q Atlanta, and tell me about your mentor and his visit to your shop.
So my mentor is Scott Broadbeck from ARL now and in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm in Atlanta. I've enjoyed the site visit because it just allowed us to sort of take our phone consultations to another level and get to spend the better part of a day kind of talking through ideas and goals for the program and help me focus on some of the things that I needed to be working on. I like working with Scott because he and I have some similar backgrounds. He's a journalist and who has kind of turned himself over to the sales and business side of his operation, and that's something that I've struggled with in the past. And so it's that kind of shared experience has helped me get more focused on the business and sales side, which I've needed to do for a long time, but have sort of struggled with that because of my journalism background.
And what's the scale of 1 to 10? Where were you when we started, with 10 being you're Jay Allred born with your media kit in your hand, and 0 being I haven't quite figured out what advertising is? Where were you when you started, and how far have we gotten in 6 months?
I mean, I was probably around a 4 or 5 and have gone up a couple notches on that ladder. The program has allowed me to redo my media kit and help tell the story of the website and the business a lot better than I was able to before. And the media kit has really helped professionalize my approach to businesses and the sales side.
Okay. Let me jump over to you. You also have Scott as your mentor and have had him come for a visit. Led runs Uptown Collective in Manhattan, in Harlem, and Scott's visited you recently. Tell me about what that was like.
Scott is
Whoop.
it's been off.
Flip it up.
Yes, there it is. Hello, everyone. Black. Scott has been invaluable in kind of my progression in this. I started this as kind of like an homage to my neighborhood. I grew up in Washington Heights, which is there's 3 neighborhoods in northern Manhattan, so it's Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood. I grew up in Washington Heights, and the site just kind of began as an homage to my neighborhood, right? Wasn't thinking revenue, wasn't thinking about that at all. So Scott's helped me kind of change the mindset and kind of have someone to talk to about ideas, and seeing someone that's already done it, that already has a roadmap, has been invaluable for me and for what I'm doing.
And what's the biggest takeaway that you've had in the last 6 months, or the biggest surprise, or the thing that you didn't know you didn't know?
Well, that I can't give everything away for free, right? That
That's the revenue part of RAMP.
You know, right? So it's like everyone reaches out to you, hey, can you post this? Can you? Oh, sure, yeah, hey, And Scott's like, no, hold on. You can charge for everything, and you should charge because you're providing a resource for your community. And it has to be like reciprocal, right? So I'll do this for you, but you also have to do this, you know? And I think that has been invaluable.
And have people objected to the idea of giving you money?
Yes, everyone wants everything for free, right? Because we've been around forever. We've been around since 2010, and I've been providing a lot of stuff for free. So now when you say, hey, wait a minute, there's a charge, there's a little bit of, hesitation.
Yeah, you've become the man. Yeah. Shaquanda Johnson from Flint and Beat in Michigan. You've changed drastically, I think, since you started as far as moving up through your involvement in the program and where your involvement in Flint Beat and where you stand now in terms of day-to-day involvement.
Yeah, when I started Flint Beat, I was a journalist. I hadn't even thought about publisher and revenue or any of those things. I was just out there reporting like I would in someone else's newsroom. I had to shift gears. So when I became part of RAMP in April, my conversation started to change, and now I more wear a publisher's hat. So I'm not producing content like I used to at all, because I realized I had to make money, and I really can't do both and do it well. You know, I could do a little bit here and a little bit there, but not quite pull it off and cover City Hall 3 days a week, producing 2 stories a day.
So what's the program brought to you that's allowed you to focus more on that than you were before?
Well, I better understand my value and where I'm at in the community that I serve. I can speak to that when I'm talking to people about Flint Beat. Initially, I didn't. I was a little insecure about it, I suppose. Even though I knew what I did was needed in the community, I really didn't know the talk. And now I can. I can speak to it. I also had to assess my products and what I was able to do being one person. So, like, I used to work as an independent sometime. I would freelance and do little things, but now I put those things under my business. So, like, right now I'm producing video for some election stuff. That's under Flint Beat. That's under Brown Impact Media Group, which is the company that owns Flint Beat, instead of it being Shaquanda. So I had to just rethink some things, and that's through Eleanor Sipple. Eleanor is my mentor. So she just had me to evaluate all of that, including my website and what I'm able to do easily, and some things that I may be able to do, but it might take a little bit more work.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about kind of the inventory that Eleanor went through with you at first? Like, do you have the following things?
Yeah, she wanted to know more about, since I'm new, I started in March 2017. Eleanor went through, my media kit. We did a website assessment. We assessed all my social media, and I basically knew that I found out I knew nothing. So, everything I had up into having Eleanor, basically we scrapped everything, and my approach and how we would utilize different numbers in my media kit, my strengths and my weaknesses. So.
Okay, good. And Shireen, over to you in Wausau, Wisconsin.
Yes, I'm the publisher of Wausau Pilot and Review, and Kim is my mentor. We spend an hour on a video conference every 2 weeks, and we talk about the ways to maximize the income that we're bringing in. We've gone through about 5 different renditions of the media kit. We're finally at a place where I feel really good about it. I think I like how it looks. It has testimonials from satisfied advertisers. It has our basic numbers. Who are we reaching? It has some basic demographics in it. I think that's stuff that I learned was really important to put in the media kit. And then I have a separate rate sheet. So I was able to come up with a bunch of different weekly rates instead of these willy-nilly packages that I was putting together. And I'll do 3 months for this. I don't know. We have a system now, and the system is working for us. I think the most important takeaway for us was to be able to have that polished presentation. We not only have the media kit and rate sheet that look great when we email it, But we have some hard copies that we had published. We put them in a great presentation folder that has our logo on the front, business card inside, so that we can confidently walk into a hospital or a big organization and look like we know what we're doing. Even if inside you're feeling like you don't, it really helps to have that piece of the puzzle. So for us, our long-term goal was to have my husband eventually quit his job and come be a partner with me and handle the advertising and the sales. And we thought that was going to be a couple years off, but that happened in September. So he's handling that for me now. So and that would not have happened. And I can tell you, just from having those pieces in place, we sold more in a 2-month span than we did all of last year. It's coming together, and we're getting those bigger names that are on our site. So I can't stress enough how important it is to have that piece in place. And if anybody would like to take a look at what we put together, just as an example, just give me your business card, and I'll email it over to you if it helps you at all.
Well, we may be able to do one better than that. The one thing that we hope to do with the RAMP program was things that came out of that to make it available to all members. So who would like to redo or need some media kit to begin with? Okay. So we've got 2 templates that we've developed with a designer, and in about another month we'll be able to put it up there and let you know that it might be as little as $200 for that designer to take your stuff and put it into one of these templates. If you don't want to move all the pictures around and change colors and all that, if you just want a basic buy-in on a template that everybody seems to be pleased with. We've got almost all 10 members of the RAMP program here, and most of the mentors. So I see Dawn and Tyree and Jeff in the back. And you guys have redone your media kits as well? Yeah. And it makes a huge difference as you said, being able to go out. So some of the things we learned in this, there were some kind of foundational things that hadn't been built up. We thought, we'll go in and start selling advertising right away. And then there's 15 things that we didn't realize that came before that. So we had our sights set pretty high, and then had a come to Jesus moment when we all got together and looked around at what we had available. Matt, you said you've gotten the media kit and you've gone out and you've used it, and does yours show like the placement of the ads, the schematic?
Yeah, so there's a couple different pieces to it. We have a short piece that kind of tells the story of the site, which I think is a really critical element of any of the media kits, but we also have basic kind of schematic of the site so people can see the different ad opportunities on the site. And one of the things I learned in doing that is just make it as clear and simple as possible so that somebody who's unfamiliar with your site can kind of get it pretty quickly. But yeah, so there's the different ad banner placements, and then I do have a separate rate card that I will use. Yeah.
And how much of this language is new?
Language in the media kit?
Yeah. Or was it stuff you had in your head that you used in sales pitches, or have you had to sit down and rethink the way that you're
Some of
approaching
it was stuff that I had, and it just presents it better, and then some of it is new pieces, and some of the advertising opportunities that we came up with, some sponsored content pieces are new for us.
Anybody else do sponsored content? Or has this made you think about doing sponsored content?
We've played around with it a little bit, but we have not found great success yet with sponsored content. Most of what we have found success with is pretty traditional banner advertising, and we use Broad Street for some really high impact ads. So we use a lot of that. And then we're just starting to sell local sports in packages. It's something that's brand new for us. So so we'll be selling sponsorships. So we've done a little bit with like selling real estate ads, but it hasn't been super effective. We did like a ask your realtor thing. Yeah, so we're looking for more opportunities there.
Okay. Led, where do you think you go next? What's your next, out of the things that you've learned and the dozens of things that you've realized you didn't know?
Well, one of the things that was really great, right, we met in August, and the first day we kind of just assessed where I was at. Second day, you know, Scott, he's already he's very technology, he's very tech savvy, right? So he redid my site that day in a bar, right? We're like having food and drinking, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do your site right now." I was like, "Really, right now?" Like, and he did it, and it was like my site was. I had an older site that was not mobile friendly, that was kind of clunky, and you know, from one day to the next, I have a brand new site because of Scott, you know, which is huge. You know, it's really huge. So I'm kind of just starting the process of really going out there and trying to reach out to people. And I like again, I always find it hard to ask for money, and you know, that's my stumbling block. But I'm trying to get over it now.
And what's your goal for this program? What was your financial?
I want to quit my job.
Huh?
Right, I want to transcend the day job. Right, that's my day job takes a lot of my time. I work in technology, and I work for AIG in New York City, and it's a very demanding job. It's great because I have leeway, right? So I have a boss, but I don't see my boss, right? So I'm in the server room, you know, all day with multiple computers. So I have leeway, but I still it's very demanding. So the goal is to transcend the day job.
Okay. And Shaquanda, how about you? Where you stand with your goals and what you set out, the financial goals? I mean, because bottom line, we're going to be measured by and stay in business by how much money we bring in.
Well, initially I had these big grand idea that I can make six figures and just come out the gate rich, like with these numbers, and I will scale back. And right now, after ramp, I got $10,000 for collaboration. I put ramp on Flint Beat's resume. And then I also received funding from the Solutions Journalism Network. So I figure about 45,000 is my number that I want to reach. I'm already at 15,000 of that, which compared to last year, I think I made about $2,500 from I print an annual voter's guide, and I made about $2,500 from that. So I am ahead of the game,
Okay.
I think, and I'm just now really getting into developing my advertising plan with Eleanor. She's putting me on a 3-month plan under her, and right now I'm selling ads for the voter's guide for this year, and she has me reaching some other people. The hardest thing for me is selling my digital space. So even when I did, the voter's guide is printed, and even when I did that, I neglected to say I have this space here on this website that you can advertise on too. And Eleanor was like, whoa, whoa, we gotta include this thing here, right? So she cracks the whip every time and kind of gets me back on track there when I get lost somewhere. So that's where I'm at.
Can you guys tell who's for profit and who's nonprofit up here? I hope not. I hope the idea is the same. Run down the line. Just tell us how long you've been around and what your tax status is.
So the Project Q's been around for 10 years. We just celebrated 10 years last month. So, you know, my challenge is kind of a mature site, and we're well established in terms of the journalism side and reputation, and now it's getting focused on the business side and sales and sustainability on that side. And there's still, you know, a good bit of kind of low-hanging fruit on ad sales. And then one of the things that Scott and I have spent some time talking about are there ways to bring in some larger corporate dollars, foundation dollars, or health system dollars that may not be interested in, you know, a 300 by 250 banner ad, but are there opportunities that we can create on the site to get their support and money in? What was the second part of that?
For profit or nonprofit?
Oh, for profit, for sure.
Okay. And you mentioned foundation money. So how are you going to pursue foundation money as a for-profit?
Well, I said foundation money, more like, you know, health systems, some of the blue chip corporations that are headquartered in Atlanta that may have dollars in some of their diversity and outreach programs that would be a great fit for our site and what we cover in terms of LGBT issues.
Okay.
I cheat. I am for profit, but I have a fiscal sponsor. And so I do grant proposals and whatnot through my fiscal sponsor. So we are a member of the Institute for Nonprofit News. We're participating in Newsmatch. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to be 100% nonprofit because I'm finding that, I'm thinking that that's where most of my successes are coming from in engaging people to give money. Sometimes I feel like I'm being lazy. I would rather write a proposal than sell an ad. It's just something about it for some reason. But I'm in talks with a couple of foundations and putting together some proposals right now for Flint Beat. And we also have this charitable arm called News Movement. It's a youth journalism program. I got $75,000 for that.
Oh, that counts.
That
That helps.
It does count, and I leave it out of the conversation because it's News Movement, but really was awarded to Flint Beat. So under the grant, I'm done.
You're doing great. Yeah, you're rolling. So you're neither for profit or nonprofit. You're
Yeah,
straddling it and trying to figure it out.
I'm straddling, and so I do a little bit of both right now. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Wassa Pilot and Review is a nonprofit, and we are INN members. We will participate in Newsmatch this year. I think that a lot of people are afraid of the nonprofit model because they think nonprofit means that you're not going to ever get paid. You're never going to make any money, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I strongly believe in the nonprofit model. We existed our first year on donations, sponsorships from foundations alone. For at least for the first few months, certainly. We'll have an operating budget next year of probably $170,000. So I think the key for us is diversified revenue stream. We have advertising revenue, we have foundations and donations that come in, and we also have a membership program. So those three things, I think it's important not to rely on one revenue stream, because if one dries up, that's it. So that's why it's important, and that's why we chose the nonprofit model. We've been successful in getting some grants as well.
Yeah, we're for profit. We've been around since 2010, and I think one of our biggest revenue streams for me has been doing social media management for other entities. So there's the Manhattan Times, which is like a local newspaper, and they have a sister paper called the Bronx Free Press, and I do their social media, and then I do social media for the New York Latino Film Festival and things like that. But social media just takes up a lot of my time as well, which, that's one of the problems so I make some money from that, but it takes up a lot of time. And also, one of the things that we make money on is also apparel, like T-shirts with, say, Harlem or Washington Heights, and that makes, every time we put out a new edition of T-shirts, they always sell out pretty quickly.
That's a good idea. In a minute, I'm going to ask you all for a final thought before we break for lunch. But before that, just want to say that this is a program that we're trying to demonstrate to more foundations as a way to help everybody in the room, not just nonprofits. There are a lot of for-profit outfits in this room that say, where do I get the foundation money? Well, this is an indirect way where Lion gets a grant. We can hire someone to be a mentor, to be a regular person to get in touch with you, to crack the whip and yell at you as much as it is needed. Again, we hope to be successful and replicate this next year, so keep your ears open for that application process. So who wants to start with last great thoughts about what's come from this program for you?
One of the things that I've always struggled with, I touched on it in an earlier answer, and this RAMP program is helping me reinforce it, is that, as a journalist, I have some of the skills already kind of within me in terms of for doing sales, asking good questions, listening to what people have to tell you, and telling good stories, and those are the skills that I think we all share as journalists, and they really are helpful in flipping the script and doing the ad sales and asking potential customers, what their needs are, telling the story of my business and site, and being a good listener and hearing what they're saying so that you can figure out a way to provide them with some help through your site.
I think one of the biggest things for me was knowing your value, that what you do is worth something, and damn near everything you do is worth something, and being able to assess it, to make it marketable, and having a language behind it. So I think that was the biggest thing for me in this, and also learning that this is a business. I get it. Some of us started out as journalists, we were writers, we want to get the story. That's wonderful, but we also need to switch hats and understand there's a business and we need to make this sustainable. And being able to tap into people to help you build that model to be sustainable.
I guess the biggest thing I'd like to say is that in a year and a half, we've only been publishing a year and a half. We've really come a long way, and I think most of us in the room are journalists. We love what we do, and this is a whole new ballgame. We're not just writing for some other paper, and telling the stories of our community, but like Shaquanda said, now you have to think like a business person. Now you have to be the entrepreneur, and that's hard stuff. It was really hard for me, but that's what this group is about. That's what this organization is about, giving you those tools to succeed and make those dreams happen. If I can do it, if we can do it, you can do it too. So I hope that you learn from the things that we've learned in this program, and if you have a chance to apply for it, do apply. You won't regret it.
Yeah, for me, a lot of what they said about value, really valuing that what we provide, right? And that, I've been doing this since 2010, and I was kind of hitting a wall, right? It's like, I need to make money off of this. I can't spend so much time, and having a mentor, really kind of someone that's done it before, has been super helpful. And I think that sometimes you have to understand that we're on the cutting edge in a sense, right? We're in the midst of a paradigm shift, and things are changing, and then we're like pioneers. And sometimes you have to look at yourself. I'm a pioneer. I'm doing something of value. I'm bringing value to my community, and my community is in the throes of gentrification. It's changing overnight, and people that have made that community a place to live are being pushed out. So what we do has a lot of value, and I think that's the most important thing, that we do something and we're providing a service and a resource for my community. So.
And which one of you is going to hire Connor, the last guy that was up here? Yeah. All right. Well, join me in thanking our ramp participants. I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Lunch is now officially open. Great for not knowing about this for